Good evening, and welcome everyone to the Serenity Gaming Week 2 Wintersplit. I am Gas Pump here, joined by my wonderful co-caster, Caramoose. Caramoose, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. You sounded like you choked there for a second. Are you okay?
That's just a frog in my throat. Come on,
Okay,
man.
fair. You know, a frog. We actually had that talk 2 days ago, I believe it was, and when it was Topaz playing, they were supposed to receive a victory frog croaking, but alas, they were unable, so maybe it moved over to your throat. Not sure how the logistics would work, but, you know.
Airmail is a hell of a thing.
Okay, yeah, just bought it on Amazon.
That 2-day shipping, bruh.
Yeah, just moving through China and over to the US. Regardless, hello everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful evening. We have quite the match to unveil in front of you all. We're going to be casting Ares versus All-Star, both of which have a relatively similar playstyle, which we'll most likely go over in this pre-show. So grab your popcorn, grab some beverages, mostly not alcoholic. We're a child-friendly stream after all, and hey, just enjoy.
Alright, so let's talk about these two teams that we have lined up here, Caramoose. The big thing that interests me is how both of these teams are going to be looking to go into their composition drafting here in the pick and ban phase, and really what kind of champions they're going to be looking for to take this series with.
So, Ares have already showcased us with the first half of the split. They were one of the more middle-of-the-pack teams, and they always prided themselves on the early game aggression. Whenever you looked at their entire lineup, every champions in their champion pool that could really snowball well and transfer those leads into the mid-game, where they ultimately dismantled their opponents. However, this new Ares lineup is actually looking to me with more players that like to play a bit more laid back, you know? It's the whole season of actually transforming your rosters with new players, and Ares are no exception. They have still two old players, which will be Ra and Parnstar. That's going to be always a mouthful to pronounce properly. And they're going to be more focused on actually team fighting. One more important thing to note, Ares won't be playing with their regular mid laner, as he is kind of on his way to the hospital. So I'm not quite sure what the complications are, but hopefully he doesn't die, because, you know, that's probably the worst case scenario. But we will be seeing Mazarox in his place, so hopefully we will see just as good of a match as we would normally.
The one thing that I'm very interested in seeing is that we have a metagame, and have had a metagame for quite some time, where early game aggression hugely rewarded. Waiting for the late game is at best a very serious gamble for teams to undertake. We've seen a large number of teams really transition out of Season 7's metagame of, you know, late game scaling, get to that 30-minute mark, and then look to win. They're really pushing the pace of games, getting objectives on the board, and ultimately taking the game much closer to that 25 to 28-minute mark, even here in the Serenity Gaming League.
Yeah, and it's been the same in our kind of league. Of course, we started at the end of Season 8 and beginning of preseason, and I think you're completely right. I would even dare say that the pace of the game even escalated to be even shorter than normally, which was the opposite intention of Riot at the beginning of preseason, where they added the turret plates to hopefully, you know, prolong the game. Now, most of the games can end up even around 20 to 25 minutes, and as such, you have the whole ADC in 2018, now in 2019, updated edition, and it's going to be an interesting game today, because both these teams actually like playing around the old style of gameplay that you mentioned, the Season 7, the long, prolonged team fights. Not in top lane, of course. Those two have nice little bruiser picks that they can choose from, so maybe we're going to see a lot of early game aggression in that department, which in case would actually substitute any other action happening all over the map, and just wait for the 40 minutes team fights.
See, the thing that I'm really checking for, and I think the thing that teams that are looking to succeed here in the Serenity Gaming League are going to need to kind of internalize and look for in their drafts is that early game aggression hugely rewarded. You've got to be drafting these winning lanes, looking to push your advantage, and then what I have seen historically, especially in this metagame, is the team that gets the first Baron very likely to win the game.
Oh yeah, and for that, of course, you need good junglers, and generally, whenever you're contesting Baron, the old rule of thumb is that the jungler that has the higher level will win, and that can also be based off of what kind of junglers you pick. And on All-Stars, we have the old school guy with a big O, and he loves playing this kind of carry junglers. He actually has played Teemo jungle a lot in his solo queue. I'm not sure if we're gonna see that today, most likely not. But he can really bully Baby Sam out of his jungle. However, he needs, as you said, the winning lane, which when we're looking at the entire compositions of both these teams, it can be a really 50-50 in the draft phase, because, well, none of those players that is actually going to be playing on those lanes really plays champions that can really snowball. So it's going to be really interesting how the junglers themselves actually play around their jungle and their their camps to just get the advantage over one another.
And you're also looking at a metagame where junglers really need to push that pace, get accelerated fast, and look to get their lanes ahead too. I mean, you can certainly draft winning lanes, but it's unless you are completely content with losing draft as a coach, it's difficult to get for one team to have every single lane winning. And if they are, that's certainly a sign of some other difficulties within a given squad. And I'm looking to see what these coaches can provide for the drafts, especially Van, who is very well regarded within the organization as a coach.
Oh, most certainly. He has been coaching Helsingør Esports, who are currently still playing in Division 1 and have been actually at the first spot, I believe, fighting over the first. I'm not quite sure who ended up at the end of first half. I still believe it was Helsingør. However, they also managed to actually climb their way over to LCD. So I think that speaks for itself when you're trying to describe a coach, especially because he doesn't really have an unorthodox kind of coaching, because he has already managed to subdue a 7-man roster of Helsingør. So I think, personally, that KMG All-Star can be a really strong team, especially when in the hands of such a potent coach such as Vand.
And again, I've seen squads absolutely transform from very middle of the pack or even very weak to being a serious contender in whatever division or league they're playing in due to proper. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what these squads can really do when they have a coach with experience behind them. So one of the things I'd like to talk about here is you drew up a document that had some great information about these teams and what kind of champions they might be playing. There was one that kind of stuck out to me, I believe, from the side of... Double checking here. I think that was the all-star top laner with Hyung Ra.
Ah, yes. So...
It was...
Yes?
Go right ahead.
Okay, I will. Thank you. So... Hyung Ra. He is one of my favorite players to watch, I'll just admit. No caster bias or anything, but...
You don't say.
Yeah, just move past that remark. I always love players that love to go for early all-ins and try to find those leads themselves rather than just trying to rely on other players. And Ra is certainly one of those, simply because he has a really aggressive champion pool. One of his most well-regarded picks is the Akali in the top lane, which if he manages to get his hands on, he can pull off some really interesting plays. So that is going to be a top lane, that I'm going to have my eyes on really closely. But again, we don't know how Dunkmaster Putin plays, so maybe he's just going to be able to shut him down completely.
Right, and we looked at Dunkmaster Putin's pool, and of course Darius is at the top of that, and Darius is a champion who, maybe even uniquely for his particular position as a fighter and as a bruiser, is able to shut down these champions who really want to have that 1-versus-1 aggression in the top lane. And if Darius gets ahead, he can cause some real problems for an enemy team.
Yeah, a fed Darius, especially because he just runs at you and instantly pops you because you cannot run away from him. However, he is really... what's the term? Okay, it just completely slipped my mind. He's really weak to being kited, and I think that Akali can be a champion that can actually match him in terms of kill pressure, just because she actually has stronger poke and can slow him down so that he doesn't actually reach her. Now, since we're already speaking of Akali, we can actually bring Baby Sam into the picture, because he does like playing the junglers that are mostly focused on actually getting your lanes ahead, such as the Jarvan the 4th, Zac, or even Sejuani. So there is a lot of potential for this little newborn to actually run over into the top lane and cause some really bad havoc like it would in real life.
Assuming that Baby Sam gets fed, we may have a case of a zombies ate my neighbor's Titanic toddler on our hands. But that's the operative there, is getting fed and getting ahead. And you can't just talk in hypotheticals when it comes to this. Well, you know, if a team gets 8 kills in the first 10 minutes, they're going to win. Well, yeah, that's kind of a loaded statement. The question is, how do they get those? And as a jungler, what I'm looking for in the Akali plus jungle matchup into the Darius is a team that can execute on chain CC and blow that Darius up before he is able to get the decimate off and get that health back, courtesy of the Q heal.
Yes, certainly. And Ares' team composition will, of course, rely on how the draft phase goes, but I think that just said, which is just chain CC. We will have Mazarox who likes playing those mages with some crowd control packed into those abilities, of course. I'm terrible today, don't worry about it. And if we get someone like maybe the Braum on one Parn Star that enjoys playing, again, those protective supports, ones that can actually just cut someone off because, well, they cannot press their buttons, well, it can be a real trouble for Darius. But of course, we're still talking about if it actually goes through. It's not his only champion. He also plays Rengar top lane, which is one of the more unorthodox pick, I'm going to say. But, you know, it's still a possibility.
Right, and I think that Rengar as a champion in the top lane is certainly more niche than even the Darius. And though it does have some really good snowball potential, it also has a significant number of weaknesses. If they are capable of being exploited, could get some real advantages there. But again, we're still just talking in hypotheticals about this match. One thing that I really think that we will see, and I think that'll matter quite a bit, is how the carry designations go in this game for the bot lane. In this current metagame, there are some pretty big frontrunners as far as the best bot lane carry role goes, and I mean, Lucian. Gotta talk about Lucian in this match.
Oof. Okay, we can talk about the Lucian, sure. Again, one of the AD carries that has seen a lot of inadvertent buffs to his own person, just because the metagame has been shifting to the more quick style of gameplay, so he doesn't actually get outranged in the late game where, you know, most of the AD carries come online. But neither of the AD carries are actually prominently known for playing that Lucian, so if we're going to see him be picked, it may be just because it is a strong pick and not necessarily because both of the AD carries are really used to playing on it. It's likely not going to be a comfort pick, and there is another AD carry that I'm actually looking at, which is Kai'Sa. We have seen her rise in the tournament quite a lot of times. It's like every other game, Kai'Sa is in it. And for a good reason. She is a strong hyper carry that actually comes online sooner than most other AD carries. Paired up with a protective support, you can actually get a really safe lane that comes on relatively early to actually push your lead that you can get through other lanes in the early game. And I think that's going to be the main focus for both of these teams, as their AD carries are mostly used to playing these scaling carries like the Kai'Sa, Xayah, and sometimes even Jinx.
When we talk about Kai'Sa in the bot lane role, I gotta go back to this one. Kai'Sa has weaknesses. When she came out, really, really strong. But as the professional teams began to develop methods of dealing with that character, you start seeing everyone else pick up the same ways of dealing with her, which are very specifically hard shoving bot lane 2v2s. Because Kai'Sa really not that strong at a 2 versus 2 until she gets some items on the board. And again, champions like Lucian, supports like Morgana, who are capable of dropping the CC, have the Black Shield, and have the Tormented Soil to really get that wave shoving, are things that Kai'Sa simply cannot deal with.
And also, yes, of course.
I was just going to say that there are other things too, like you can run a Zyra Caitlyn lane and make whatever the Kai'Sa chooses as a 2v2 just completely worthless. There's nothing you can do as the Kai'Sa unless you have jungle pressure, which again, if you're already shoving bot lane in, you're going to have control of that bottom half of the map, and if your jungler hovering down there as well. So we'll see how those picks shape up.
We will have to see indeed how it goes, and since you're already talking about the supports, Ancient Days has a relative record of playing supports like that Morgana, even Lulu, even though it's not that highly focused on actually pushing the wave support. However, I'm actually looking at one of his picks, which is the Rakan. Now, of course, the poor pigeon is get nerfed in the upcoming patch. Unfortunate, so he may as well enjoy it today. And if Xayah goes through, we can actually see a Lovers Duo being picked for most likely All-Stars, because the players there actually really enjoy playing those two champions. So if they manage to lock themselves that kind of lane in, it's going to be really difficult for Ares to play around it, just because, well, I'm not going to say it's OP, but it's still a really strong bot lane.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that over the course of the changes that Riot has put through, Xayah and Rakan are significantly more in line with the rest of the cast from their high point of power, which absolutely was ridiculous in terms of the dominance in the 2v2. But with the current setup, it's a very strong choice as a bot lane. And I feel like Riot has positioned Xayah to be kind of the new flagship auto-attack based AD carry.
Oh yeah, I mean, okay, so Freak actually did a really nice video on this, where you basically cannot really differentiate between different crit AD carries just because their kit is really similar, and it is so different. She has self-peel in the form of Featherstorm, and she has a really, really good teamfighting ability in the Blade Caller. If you've ever played against Xayah and you get hit by 5 or more feathers, you're probably getting insta-deleted. So, you know, that's not the biggest fun out there. However, it may come through today, it may not. You've mentioned that you don't like talking in hypothesis. So we can actually focus on another lane, which would be the mid lane, even though it's most likely going to be a bit of a boring farm fest.
Right, but despite the fact that it might not be the highest energy 1 versus 1 matchup in the mid lane, it's still very important to see how those 1v1s play out, because if it's control mage versus control mage, whoever is winning that matchup buys so much pressure in a bubble around that portion of the map.
Oh yeah, and maybe if we actually get something like that, Zag being locked in for Ares, someone that actually really loves to camp around the mid lane, we can actually see a really strong snowball start forming, because while mages aren't the champions that, you know, you generally tend to go for if you want a really strong early game, giving a couple of kills to, say, Syndra actually revitalizes the old meme of her just pressing the ultimate and just deleting a champion in the matter of seconds off the map. So that's again a possibility, and yet again, here's the junglers. They're going to matter, and it's going to be really up to them to shape how this game is going to go.
For sure on that, Karam. What I'm really looking forward to seeing from both of these teams, exciting match. That's what I'm looking for. I hope both these teams put up a good show and that we get a set of really good games from both of them.
Oh yeah, that's the best we can hope for, really. it's not going to be an FF. And there were actually talks of maybe getting even more substitutes for, I'm not sure who it was. I believe it was KMG All-Stars. Luckily, we're going to still see them both in their relatively full strength. Again, Ares are going to be playing with a different mid laner. So there is going to be a little bit of a problem for Ares, which is that, again, all of these teams that are currently playing in SRG are mostly made up of players that haven't really played together too much. And putting another player into your lineup at this time where, well, you don't really have your communications lined up just yet, just perfectly, can actually screw you up immensely, especially when you're going to be playing against players like Dunkmaster Putin who play these split pushers, because it's all about communication. So in that sense, Ares are going to be overcoming another obstacle in this game.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's just one of those things where, of course, you're going to have difficulties playing with someone who you're not familiar with, especially if they're coming into an established lineup. So we'll see how well Slackar fits in, what he can do here, and, you know, really how well he can mesh with the other members of the squad in this first game.
And as we're talking about that, we're going to be moving into the Pro Draft just shortly. The Rakan ban coming through from the side of Ares makes sense, getting rid of one of the half of the Lovers Duo, making sure that, well, they don't get that overpowered bot lane. Now, Jace from All-Stars is interesting because it really fits into into Ross champion pool. I'm not sure if it's really too viable, at least as of right now. It can be really strong, but making just sure that they can scale into the later stages of the game.
I think that if you're looking at the Jace pick, Jace is something that kind of fits into that pocket role. Very, very strong character if you're able to hit all your buttons real good on him. But if you can't, maybe a little suboptimal. Going to see Aurelia, Camille, and Xin Zhao as the further bans. And Kai'Sa, the first pick from Ares. Hardly a surprise to anyone who has seen this team play.
Oh yeah, makes sense. Both of these teams were going to be striving for this Kai'Sa. Both of the AD carries love to play it, and it's still a really strong pick. We talked about it a bit in the pre-show, so no surprise there. Now, I'm looking at All-Stars, what they decided to pick. Jarvan 4th is going to be the first one, and it can actually shut down some of the one-man carry comps that Ares may be trying to pull, just because he can actually dash through the entire front line and just sit on Kai'Sa. Maybe if he decides to build lethality. I don't think it's going to happen, but you know.
Alright, so I would really like to see a support pick from KMG All-Stars here in the second part of the draft phase. So, I don't agree. I do not agree with this. I think it's way more important to secure a priority support pick and then lock your Caitlyn in the second part of the draft phase before you go into the second part of bans.
Agreed.
So you can. So here's the thing: is that Kai'Sa gets Braum.
Yeah.
Which you could have denied. Like, Caitlyn and Braum is a pretty decent 2v2, unless you're looking for a very strong pushing lane. In which case, you can still abuse the Braum. Yeah, the Morgana pick, I think, is wise here. I would have actually liked to see the Morgana get locked in beforehand. But yeah. Kai'Sa Braum, not a bad choice. It's just one of those things where I think the support is more important than the AD carry in this 2v2 as far as setting things up for KMG All-Stars goes. Though Sejuani going to be the jungle pick. You had called that earlier within the champion pools, and I think that's a wise choice for Ares if you were looking for a tanky, heavy jungler.
Yeah, and speaking of the Braum pick, once again, I think that it would have been really wise of All-Stars to actually pick it away from Ares, just because Parnstar has displayed a lot of mastery over that champion, so it's a double no-no for me. But regardless, we're now looking at a really strong team composition already, and now it's just going to be left to the top laners to just, you know, pick themselves a nice little dueling top lane. Can we get that, maybe?
The thing that I'll say about picking the Morgana Caitlyn is that your job isn't to shut the Braum down, it's to shut the Kai'Sa down. And Caitlyn and Morgana is significantly more capable of doing that than a Caitlyn Braum is. And just having the pushing power of the Morgana, I think, is pretty good. It's one of those things where I just don't know about the order of that draft. I think that as far if you're looking as the 2v2, that's still pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that KMG All Stars got what they want there. They also got the Aatrox. I want to see what Ares picks for their solo lanes, if they're going to go for dominance or for control.
ooh, the Renekton being hovered. I would actually really like to see that pick. Okay, a really explosive top lane is going to be... It's a relatively skilled matchup, even though Renekton isn't too difficult of a champion to pull off. If either of these champions snowballs, it's going to be really terrifying for the other team to face against them, as Orianna and Galio as some of the more team fighting capabilities being picked up for both teams. And, you know, I actually think that it's going to be a really interesting game looking at both of these teams.
I think both of these drafts are pretty solid, but I would say that I think KMG All Stars did win the draft. And a lot of this... I think a lot of this comes down to what are both of these teams trying to accomplish with the sets of champions that they picked up.
So All-Stars have actually opted for a more early game focused team comp where you have Caitlyn, who will likely bully Kai'Sa out, especially now that she does have that Morgana who can help push the lane a lot. You also have this Aatrox, who is going to be a really big nuisance in the early game. And, well, SRG... a lot of crowd control in the form of Braum and Sejuani, as well as kind of Renekton and Orianna. You will have the wombo combo of Sejuani just jumping in and delivering the ball into the middle of KMG All-Stars, and they have a really strong front line to actually provide Kai'Sa with so that she can just fire from the back line. Now, this is all going to go to waste if All-Stars completely snowball out of control. Ares need to play really safe everywhere except top lane. I think that a lot of jungle pressure is going to be in that lane, just trying to get Ra ahead, just because you want to shut that Aatrox down, because if you don't give Aatrox a couple of kills early, well, he's going to be useless, let's be honest.
I think that's the same thing, but more so can be said about the Renekton pick in the top lane. I think Aatrox can be effective as long as he's farming pretty well, but I really feel that in this particular meta game and with Renekton in his current state, he has to get those advantages and get ahead to really be effective on that champion. And whenever I see Renekton being effective, it is with a very heavy damage build. I'm talking about 3 to 4 general damage items. You know, Essence Reaver Renekton is something that I've seen be very successful if the player is skilled enough with the champion, and I'm looking forward to seeing if Hyung Ra in the top lane is capable of bringing the numbers.
Well, I certainly hope so, because it's going to be likely the only interesting lane that we're going to be looking at. Of course, the rest of the map is still, you know, going to be important to look at. We cannot just give up on this entire bot lane. However, I think that most of the map is actually clear-cut in how it is going to go. Mid lane is just going to be a farm fest with Galio as soon as he hits that ultimate, being able to run over to his other lanes to help out. And I think at this point, you can actually look at a 3-man gank over to the top lane. You mentioned that if Renekton doesn't get snowballing, he's practically and virtually unable to play the game. Pretty much. So if you're going to get so many people into your lane, it's going to be really difficult for you to actually be useful. So I think that as soon as Galio hits level 6, you're going to see this bit of carefulness enter this Renekton's brain. He's knowing that if he wants to survive, he cannot overextend. And we've seen top laners overextend time and time and time again. So it's going to be even more important this time around that they don't make those mistakes.
For sure, for sure. And I'd like to talk about the top jungle 2v2, because you've got Renekton and Aatrox, and Sejuani and Renekton versus Aatrox, Sejuani versus Jarvan. I think the Aatrox Jarvan is a very strong 2-man squad, especially if you're looking for a ganker. If Renekton mistimes his slice and dice and can't get, you know, enough distance between him and the members of the enemy team that come up for a gank. I think the big onus will be if one of these two teams can really set up an effective counter gank. That's where we're going to see one team really eke out a strong advantage there, but that remains to be seen. Comes down to jungle pathing. right, so we do have all the champions locked in across the roles. There's going to be Kai'Sa Braum versus Caitlyn Morgana in the bot lane. I mentioned this previously, but Caitlyn Morgana is a very strong 2v2 to match up against the Kai'Sa Braum. Kai'Sa Braum going to have an extraordinarily difficult time pushing the minions out from under their tower, and it's going to cause some real problems unless they get assistance from that Sejuani jungle, who, again, that's a lot of attention potentially paid to a bot lane.
Okay, so apparently my mic decided not to work. That's lovely. I've been talking here for like a half a minute. That's fun, isn't it?
I was gonna say, like, I just gotta say, like, buddy, you alright?
Nah, it's okay. I'm kind of alive. I'm just really sad. So yes, I definitely agree with you in the bot lane because, well, Morgana does have that black shield, and what does both Sejuani and Braum rely upon? It's hard crowd control. And if they cannot really exact their will upon it, well, they can't really do anything in that regard, as Kai'Sa nor Sejuani will have the sufficient amount of damage to just blow one of these champions out of the water. So it really is just going to be for Kai'Sa and Braum to just live through the early game and transfer whatever gold that they have into the late game, where they can actually start to do something. But again, you've said this a couple of times, the meta game, it's all about early game, and I think that's where the main strength of KMG All-Stars lies.
Right, absolutely, and this is a draft that I think perfectly takes advantage of those strengths. I'm really looking for Caitlyn Morgana to run a riot in that bottom lane against Kai'Sa and Braum, and the onus is really on the side of Ares to make a play, to come out ahead, and to turn this losing matchup into a winning.
And that is indeed going to be the case for the bot lane, but so let's move out of the lower portion of the map for a second. I believe that Sejuani can also set up a lot of good on both top lane and mid lane. We've already talked about the top lane, but when we're looking at the summoners, unfortunately you cannot see it on stream. However, Galio is actually running the Ignite, meaning that he will likely be facing off against Orianna with that Jarvan. You mentioned it, a really strong duo. So once again, there may be a lot of 2v2s there, given that Sejuani can be the ball delivery service for Orianna to really engage a play, and if Orianna plays her cards right, she can actually force Galio out of the lane if he with just farming with his Q.
Look, dude, it's the Chad Galio Ignite versus the Virgin Orianna Cleanse. What can he even say?
Yeah, that's just, okay.
Look at Slykar confidently flailing his big rocky limbs around in that mid lane, setting everything on fire whenever he pleases.
And then there's Orianna just throwing her ball around. It randomly explodes at one point in time. She cannot even control it. What a wonderful meme you've set up. I just, it's great. It's great.
No, thank you, Slykar, for setting the meme up for me. Really appreciate it there. Mr. Ignite Galio mid lane. All right, so if we're looking at the top lane here, it's going to be that Flash Teleport versus Flash Teleport. Both of these tops, of course, looking for the map pressure. Nothing particularly surprising about that. But again, we talked about the Aatrox versus the Renekton. I think Aatrox is can do a much better job of scaling into that late game and still being a pretty significant threat. But yeah, I don't know about the Renekton. That's going to be that. I have concerns about that one.
Yeah, certainly, because when you actually think about, well, what both of the champions actually offer, Aatrox has at least, you know, some kind of AoE damage, so he's automatically going to be good in a team fight, whereas Renekton, he's just going to kind of sit there awkwardly and hope that he can dash into the back line. Luckily for him, All-Stars actually don't really have too much of a strong front line. Yes, they do have the Jarvan, however he's more of an off-tank. They do have the Galio, but lately he has received a couple of nerfs to his tanky build, and is now going to most likely be going for more of a mage build. So I think there is still a possibility for Renekton to be useful, but it really doesn't work too well with the rest of the composition. I have to agree, and it's kind of a liability in a sense at this point, because you have to actually dedicate some resource so that he is, you know, useful.
I think a big thing too is that Galio doesn't want to start the fight off with his team. He wants to ult in, get the pop-up, really make a play in that respect, not just sitting on top of his AD carry before the fight even starts.
Oh yeah, he does have the Ignite, which is telling you that he's not going to be protective. He's going to be the Chad.
But he also
Galio.
has Aftershock.
Well,
so I don't know what that is. Those are some real mixed messages there, Sliker. I don't know how to feel about that one. I mean, you go for the Ignite, and then like the baby legs Keystone Master was, I don't want to get hit that hard.
Okay, well, Galio never skips leg day. Okay, I think that's a really just strong message.
Dude. Look at new Galio. He's got like T-Rex arm legs. They're tiny.
Aww,
check that out in game, dude.
That was the old one. He was just floating around with a couple of tornadoes, like a sad little being. Now Galio animation for like 20 minutes just on loop. You just start feeling the testosterone flowing into your veins. So,
I do that without having to even look at a pic like that. Hello?
Do you? Are you the most testosterone-filled man out there?
I maybe. I don't know, dude.
Okay.
This isn't a contest, brah.
Okay, sure. This is just to all the women watching at this point. Regardless, to talk about...
Can't see it on the stream, but I'm flexing right now.
Yeah, okay, that's good on you. Maybe when we get webcams, you'll be able to do that.
Oh, missed me with that amateur webcasting. Oh,
yeah.
Amateur broadcasting webcam stuff. All right, so both teams screaming at the base. Going to be seeing the 5-stat coming through from KMG.
KMG?
That's the one.
Yes.
Oop, they get spotted out. Hey, that's a ward kill, though.
Going
over to the Caitlyn, too. Oh, no. Oh, man. Kaisa just entered that ward straight in Haley's pocket. It's devastating.
Just 10 gold. Already won the game. GG, go next. Okay. A nice little invade happening. But, you know, no kills go through, so at least areas have that. Because...
No kills? Hello? That ward had a family?
Okay, well, champion kills. I'm going to be more specific.
Okay.
And actually, Aatrox is a bit in danger. He's walking right into Sejuani and Renekton here. And, well...
Uh-oh, he's doing that face checker arena. Going to be finding the... And the Sejuani does take that Q at level 1. Here comes the stun. Go over the wall, finds the damage. Going to be flashing over towards that red buff. Will be able to make an escape there. Does see the red buff being started out there, but it's going to lose so much health, as well as the flash. Almost certainly have to teleport back into lane here. Wants to make a contest, but Sejuani has the smite, so... little iffy in my mind for Aatrox to stick around there instead of heading back to base, but Nook Master Putin could be fighting the good fight there. Here comes Jarvan looking for that level 2 gank, forcing the flash at a Fallen Angel.
And that is just one of the really important summoner spells. We mentioned that just Kaisa wants to survive, and it's going to be even more difficult for her now that she doesn't have the lovely yellow blink, as we call it. But
the lovely yellow blink.
Okay, it's a blink.
Who calls it that?
No, okay, the definition of flash is that it teleports you a short distance, okay? That's what we call a blink in the League of Legends community.
Right.
I think. Most likely I'm wrong, but you know.
But I mean, you added a couple adjectives in there that I didn't think were necessary.
Well, that's what I do. I just add really
unnecessary adjectives,
That's I'm gonna have that on my grave. Not even on the tombstone, just on my grave, written in the ground. Unnecessary.
The grass.
Just, you know, I'm gonna have it in nice little paper.
That's a big trade there. Renekton doing quite all the damage. Still does have that potion as well as the flash. And Dunlaser Poo needs to be careful here, because Renekton, once he gets his combo back up, could certainly have that kill threat against the Aatrox. A Fury-empowered Slice and Dice and... pardon me, a Fury-empowered... Ruthless Predator, as well as Slice and Dice, could really lay the hurt onto that Aatrox, especially if Hyung-Ra is willing to commit the flash.
And luckily, for Putin. Both of the top laners actually have their sustain, but now Renekton...
Alright, there we go. That's the damage. Slice and Dice coming through to set the flash. One more auto seals the deal. And that's first blood for Young Ra. Slikar playing in the mid lane. Orianna does have that cleanse, forcing the flash out. Here comes the play. Back, but no, that's Slikar going to the tower. Gonna go down. SRG Baby Sam picking up that second kill as well. And Ares off to a dynamite start in this match.
And you just have to feel bad for Slicker there. He overextended just into the turret range, was unable to actually get the last auto attack off on Mazarox, and that was a bit sad to watch. But all over the map, just Ares actually picking up a couple of kills for themselves, which is really good, because first one was in top lane, and Renekton, you know, again, I'm going to repeat it, he wants kills. And even a kill on Orianna, or sorry, on Sejuani, isn't too shabby for her to achieve the tankiness super early on.
Right, for sure. And the big thing there as well is Slikar just got totally jebaited by that cleanse from the Orianna, canceling out the ignite as it does remove that damage over time effect. And something I want to talk about here in this 2 versus 2. Aicho and Ancient Days not burning mana to hard shove the wave, which I think is actually a mistake here. You want to get that wave under tower as much as and remove any chance the Kai'Sa has of really doing anything in this lane, having aggressive moves. And it's not about getting kill threat. It's about making sure that she doesn't get the CS, doesn't get the pressure in the lane, and that your jungler is freed up to go elsewhere on the map and really have an effect. Because right now, Jarvan is hovering on the bottom side of the map. You don't want to see that.
And especially when you actually know of Sejuani being on the top side of the map. Agree, a bit of a wasted opportunity. However, they're just trying to freeze the wave. Alas, it is going to run into the turret in a really big number. So it's actually going to crash completely, which is okay. That is just unfortunate.
Well, it's actually not. It's going to get stopped right in front of the tower here, and Kai'Sa's going to be able to pick up basically all of that CS totally unpunished.
So a bit of a mistake from the lineup of KMG All-Stars. There in the mid lane, Mazarox is just doing what Orianna does, just throwing balls at people. Have you actually noticed that there are 2 champions that throw balls at people? Syndra and Orianna. Both are mages, both are in mid lane. I think there is a conspiracy.
Orianna only throws 1 ball at people. Syndra throws all the balls at people.
All the dark balls. I feel. Wait, what? Wasn't there like a cartoon where they threw balls at people?
Ooh, but there's a gank in the top lane. It's gonna be the Whirlwind pop from the Aatrox, no flash available quite yet. That's gonna be the revive passive pop and will escape, but it's a big ult cooldown burned for that Aatrox, and Young Ra once again in total control of his top lane.
He, however, isn't actually winning in the creep department too hard. He's actually on par with this Aatrox farm, so that is a silver lining for Dunkmaster Putin at this very point in the game. Overall, I actually really like that Ares are in the lead.
For play against this Orianna, old school guy does get quite a lot of damage here. Orianna still having that shockwave, does not see any reason to use it there, and will be able to back off without having to burn any major summons or abilities. Young Ra able to get that first tower plate in the top lane. Nice drop of gold in the pocket for that.
And again, Renekton is just getting himself a tiny bit ahead. He's sitting on some gold right now. Just getting himself in a really comfortable position. Now Baby Sam in the mid lane may look to do something here.
Ooh, there's the ult coming down under the Galio, looking for the gank there. Slikar gonna get stunned up, pops that aftershock, but the damage is huge. Ignite coming down to Orianna. One more attack would be enough, but not quite. Mazarox able to survive the Ignite with just a single tick of health left.
And I feel like right there was just so many mind games happening at the same time. Baby Sam walked out of the bush into the vision of Slikar and just stood there until Slikar felt threatened enough to actually go back through the Orianna ball, and at that point Mazarox just pulled him back in. He pulled him out of retirement and, well, killed him. It sounds bad, but that's how it happened. And
pulled him into retirement, you said?
No, he pulled him out of retirement and into the grave. He became the Black... is that a Black Reaper? The Reaper.
Grim.
The Grim,
Reaper.
damn. Okay, that's That probably sounded a bit weird, but, you know.
I mean, if you've seen the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, I suppose that's a Black Reaper. But Hyung Ra going into the top lane as Dunkmaster, again taking a trade there. And Hyung Ra going to be opting for that Tiamat first item. I think a pretty solid choice in Renekton as far as guaranteeing the wave clear is concerned.
Just meaning that he will want to split push later on in the game now.
Look at that damage! Renekton ult coming through, finding that. And woof. That area of effect grinding down the Aatrox. A fourth kill going over to really showing up huge in this game.
That's what we call getting Crimea'd, by the way, in this part of the world. Well, second kill heading over to Renekton, meaning that he's going to be one really happy alligator. Or well, is it alligator or a crocodile?
A crocodile.
A crocodile. Okay.
Alligators are American, my man.
No, there is a difference between a crocodile and an alligator.
Yes, and it's speciation based in where they live. Alligators are American. Crocodiles are... Yeah.
No, alligators have a thinner, what do you call it? A thinner mouth. And they have different teeth. Okay, let's...
Yes, and alligators live in the U.S.
Okay,
that's
sure.
like where they are. That's like not a joke, dude.
Yeah, okay.
You have crocodiles are old world.
Old world. Isn't that like the Africa?
Europe as well.
Well, okay, we're just turning into a biology/geography lesson at this point. And currently, Ares are sitting on a 3k gold lead, which is a bit surprising given that they were meant to be the ones just waiting for late game.
Ooh, here comes the play in on the Mazarox, and wow, what a great flash from Oriana to dodge out that damage as the flip coming back through Ancient Days, dropping real low. One more auto attack seals, they're going to be coming through. That's going to be the ult on the Sejuani. Mazarox still living, Slickar in danger, and Baby Sam picks up the kill. What a turn! Aatrox looking for Kyungro on the top lane. Not quite enough gas left in the tank to take that.
And at this point, it has to feel bad if you're All-Stars. You just try to go for every single play, and well, every single one has just been denied by supreme sidestepping by Mazarox at this point, and he has 2 kills as a reward for those actions, and well, he's just been playing it really well overall, and now Putin is actually running over to the top turret, and he may find himself in a really dire situation as Sejuani comes around. Yeah, I agree.
Yep, 100%.
100%, okay.
Ooh, hey! Caitlyn taking quite a lot of work and punishment down there, looking for the gang of the Aatrox, but here's the turn. Coming down, Bramall will land. Caitlyn getting those autos down. It's gonna be the play. Aikyo is gonna get that heal from the Triumph and be able to survive with just a sliver there. And first kill on the board going over to the 80. No, not the 80 carry, the jungler from the side of KMG. Pretty good pick up there. Oh, the plasma bolt will seal the deal there. Pick up that kill. Caitlyn going down, and a fatty drop of gold in there for the Kaisa. Top lane tower now to throw only 1 plate remaining at the 12-minute mark, and even more gold in that Renekton's pocket. Dunkmaster Putin getting absolutely annihilated there. There is that stun coming through Renekton to pop the ult. Look for Aatrox, not going to find it though. Slice and dice not quite up yet for another few seconds, and Aatrox will live for now, but did pop his teleport just to get dropped down to next to no HP. Plate almost certainly going to be the victim here. Renekton going and find the damage. One more auto would take it, and that's going to be Hyung Ra getting his 4th of the game, and soon to be the first tower.
And it really is just unfortunate at this point for KMG. It's just... that is the first turret. They did get the Cloud Drake as a result, but it's not going to be the worthy trade, I'm going to say, if you're going to be trading it for 3 kills and a top lane turret. And at this point, you will have this Renekton who is just really well, not beefy. He's going to be really good at split pushing. He has finished that Tiamat. And you will have Oriana actually building up into the Luden's Echo fairly shortly. So there will be a lot of power spikes happening for the lineup of Ares. And they'll just be able to push and actually teamfight as well as soon as they get Braum and Kaisa together with them into an actual fighting comp.
Looking at a 6,000 gold lead here after 13 minutes. This is looking very commanding for Ares so far. KMG having some real problems trying to, really pick up advantages across the map in this early game. And I think a lot of that has to do with questionable aggressive decisions from that side. Going to be looking for the flip back onto the Morgana. Going to find that there's Cataclysm coming in. Galio, Cataclysmic entrance, landing and bouncing him up. That's going to be Kyung Ra under threat. That's going to be Dunkmaster looking for the backline. Ignite coming down, is able to pick up that kill. So the shutdown going through as well. Baby Sam now on the offense looking for Slikar there. Going to get popped up looking for the play-in. Finds one, may find another there. No, but the binding lands from Morgana. One more auto attack from Dunkmaster. Putin would take it. Sejuani goes into the tower. Not quite gonna be able to grab it, and that's a flash that won't be for anything. And finally, we see some signs of life from KMG.
It really does feel like they are a bit reinvigorated after that little play. They turn it around with that Galio ultimate. It's just such an important spell in their arsenal. However, the bot lane of Ares as a result is just pushing uncontested, but again, it's really important to see All-Stars actually doing something instead of just laying down in their bed and crying and not just putting up any effort, because you don't win games that way. You have to start doing something, especially when you have a team comp like this, where you rely all on mid-game.
The Jarvan looking for a play against one trick Star. Not gonna be able to find anything. Dunkmaster Putin in trouble again. Kyung Ra is huge. Has that Black Cleaver and Tiamat already. Compared just to the Kindle Gym and Ninja Tabby from Dunkmaster Putin on that Aatrox.
That is just sad. It's not even like how they have been playing, it's just, well, having Renekton this far ahead of you in your lane is just not fun for anyone.
You don't get to play.
Yeah.
You just don't get to play the game.
It's over for you. You can start installing Tetris or something.
Just go play Pac-Man instead.
Yeah. Just gobble up those ghosts, because you won't likely gobble up this crocodile.
Lord.
Yeah. And right now, Ares are actually on a really good way to just close up this game soon. Herald is still up, and they will have to pick that up in the upcoming 4 minutes.
What a great dodge on that ultimate. But Sejuani is going to be able to lock up Slikar for just a moment. There's the pullback, another stun coming through. Slikar backing off. That aftershock is worn off, finds the damage from Mordo. SRG, Baby Sam picking up that kill as he takes it onto the Kaisa. Does have that killer instinct, able to get out without having to use the flash. Jarvan forced to back on off there. That is the damage coming through. Jarvan not going to be able to lock that pop-up in. One more auto attack would be able to finish off the Jarvan, but not quite going to be able to knock that down. Hesitating with the auto attack, and that's going to be Old School Guy able to escape, but at a huge price. No kills locked down, losing the fight in general. It's good to see the attempt coming through, but just not quite enough here. Dunkmaster Putin also getting turned around on all that Orianna damage is enormous.
Orianna really just deals an absurd amount of damage, but who doesn't deal a lot of damage is this Jarvan. He hasn't actually even finished his second, well, he hasn't finished any what's the term? Composite items, yes. For his second item, he has just the enchantment for his Skirmisher Saber, so he did not deal pretty much any damage to Kaisa. And again, at this point, All-Stars are relatively far behind, so they cannot actually delete anyone on the lineup of Ares without really subjecting themselves to the entire lineup of them. And this is just going to cause them a lot of trouble in the long run, because they cannot have their entire team fighting at all times.
Not only that, but you're looking at a composition that was looking not get ahead early game. You've got some stronger scaling on the side of Ares, and it's really starting to come into effect here. It's going to be the play, looking to go through Jarvan, force the flag and drag on out to safety, and they've got such incredible zone control around this dragon.
And Ares just have been playing this pretty much perfectly. Okay, that is...
Oh, they're looking for the Morgana. Gonna find the Aatrox with that glacial prison from the Sejuani. Putin forced on back there, and it's going to be Old School Guy going down for a second time this game. Trying to get in there. Bit of a questionable attempt in my mind. I don't think there was any world in which he was going to steal that dragon.
Oh yeah, no. there was no way after half his team got blown up by a single Orianna ultimate.
Yeah, second and almost certainly third tower's going down here in pretty short order as Remekton makes his way through the bottom lane. That gold gap widening up further and further, now escalating to 8,000 in favor of Ares.
And another thing to mention, the Drake that Ares actually managed to pick up was a mountain one, so if there was any dragon that they wanted to speed up the pace of the game at this point just because they're ahead, it's the mountain one.
Oh, for sure. And especially when you're looking at Kai'Sa, who's going to be doing extra damage to the objectives because of those plasma stacks.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun.
Oh, Dunk Master Putin. Gonna get caught out here in the top lane. No ultimate available. Gonna get some damage down on the Kai'Sa, but Baby Sam picking up his 5th kill of the game on the Sejuani. Just red buff things.
Just red buff things. Just a Lady Odabor comes riding at you and he burned to death somehow. That's just red buff things. And at this point, you have to wonder what KMG Oracle actually can do to really climb back into the game. And, well, they need to hit their power spikes on Caitlyn. They really need her to actually get a couple of items down so that she can help out with the siege that Ares are going to certainly be poising for in the upcoming couple of minutes, as the Baron will be spawning. And, well, they can actually try to contest it. They have a lot of AoE damage, they have the Galio ultimate, they also have the Cataclysm from Jarvan. They still have a lot of damage in close quarters combat, but they just need to perform it well enough.
For sure, and I think a big thing is going to be finding the right time to try to make your last ditch attempt. Because again, you're nearing that 10,000 gold lead mark, and that's where things become very dicey for a comeback. Here's the catch on to Aatrox. They're coming through, traveling through the Cataclysm. Here comes the Bounce House. Galio in hits 4, but the damage is huge. They're still not able to get the turnaround. Baby Sam pulled back. Galio going through, not going to find the kill. Looking for more there. Braum going to tag that Caitlyn with the passive, and that is a 1-for-3 once again in favor of Ares.
And you asked when they want to do the final ditch stand, and well, I'm going to say this wasn't one of them. It did actually open up the Baron, but luckily for KMG All-Stars, Baby Sam did fall in the fray, and so Ares won't actually do the Baron. However, they have to pick better fights than this one, because if they just keep on trading 3 for 1, the gold lead is just going to widen and widen, and already Ares are sitting at 10,000 gold ahead at 20 minutes, which reminds me of the games yesterday.
Right, and it's one of these things, historically, it's almost impossible to come back from this kind of gold deficit at this point of the game. Specifically, I still think there's a chance.
Oh yeah, there's always a chance.
I'm a big believer in, even with a gold lead like this, the game isn't over until an inhib gets cracked. And that we should really be thinking about the next match. But even at this point, I think that All-Stars has one more chance to make a play and really make something happen, and it's got to be around this Baron.
Oh yeah, certainly. After that, the death timers are just going to be so long, and the Baron buff will likely be sitting in the possession of Ares if All-Stars don't actually do anything about contesting it. And well, that's just a recipe for disaster for All-Stars.
Right. Now, if you're Ares, I think the 100% play here is getting a pick off on the old school guy.
Oh yeah.
If Jarvan goes down, game's more or less over there. Going to be starting this up. Galio's on the other side of the map. Does not have a teleport to join, and his ult is still quite a bit from being off. Look at how fast this Baron is going down. Getting dropped so quickly. Will be taken by the Kai'Sa. Smite's not going to be coming through from Baby Sam, so
interesting.
Got a little bit closer than I think the members of Ares would have liked, but it will be secured. I think that it's actually super duper questionable that there wasn't any attempt to contest the Baron, because at this point I think defending against the siege is virtually impossible with the gold.
Oh, it's pretty much impossible, yeah. However, you have to realize how quickly that Baron went down. The lineup of All-Stars actually backed just before it started going down, which I think is questionable in itself, but not even them could have anticipated it to just go down so fast with Kai'Sa and Mountain Drake.
Oh, there's the engage coming through. Aatrox on top of that world leader. What a huge command shockwave. Galio coming through just to give up another kill. They're looking for more. Killer instinct from the Kai'Sa to stop that Galio, and that's the full ace with the Baron buff coming through for Ares as they storm down the mid lane to take game 1 of this series.
Well, most likely it's the...
Wow, okay, they don't have creeps there.
They don't, but they have Sejuani, so...
They do have Sejuani. Also, reinforcing wave coming shortly.
Oh yeah, but that's not important, okay? They have this lady on a board.
Even with death timers as short as they are, still... Oh, no! Don't back off! Okay, so... I don't think they realize how far ahead they are.
Yeah, that's actually what happens often with these teams that aren't really used to playing in a competitive setting, because when you're used to playing solo queue, it's generally that like one guy is ahead and you can still lose a team fight. However, given that all of these teams are so coordinated, even a little bit of a gold lead can turn into a really big advantage. But yeah, Ares, they just back out, and they don't really actually go for any other objectives, which I think is even more questionable than just backing up.
They could have ended the game, no matter how many... Like if you pressure the Nexus towers there, you force the side of All-Stars to engage on you. And then you win that fight too, because you're all enormously fed.
Yeah, especially when the lineup of All-Stars don't actually have that important Galio ult up available, so yeah, they could have ended the game. We will hopefully... Well, we will just go and... Okay, my brain farted. We're just going to see a bit more of League of Legends, and now Dunkmaster Putin, okay, he just has to flash out.
Aatrox forced to flash there. That one stings.
And well, at this point for All-Stars, I'm not actually sure how to describe how their game just went, because it wasn't really a matter of bad team play. It wasn't really a matter of bad macro plays. Maybe the Baron was a bad macro choice. However, in the end, they just collapsed.
It comes down to questionable individual decisions from the players, and they had the tools to succeed. I think a lot of in their own heads. So,
yes.
Master Putin going to be popping that ult there as Young Ra, who is absolutely enormous, is going to be going for another kill here. They're looking for the collapse coming through. They find the Renekton, and here's the play there. Young Ra still under the tower, able to slice and dice on out there. Swapping Tower Egger, looking for the play. That's going to be the killer instinct into the back line. Kai's not lighting everyone. That's going to be the ignite coming down onto Dunkmaster Putin. The shield is enough to save Young Ra. That's a second inhibitor cracked, and assuredly game now for the side of SRG Ares.
And I think this just goes to show how strong these Ares players are individually when compared to All-Stars, just because, well, they have won all of their lanes. The bot lane was maybe like, they went neutral. They went neutral against Caitlyn and Morgana. And that was just...
That's a hugely favored matchup for the Caitlyn Morgana. Though I would like to point out here, a lot of the difficulties in this game come down to poor individual decision-making from the top and mid lane. I think that Dunkmaster Putin and Slikar both made very aggressive moves. Dunkmaster Putin in the jungle in the early game, and Slikar in some of those fights against the Orianna that did not turn up in their favor and ended up costing them a lot in the long run.
Yeah, and I think that it's caused by just the team composition in general. Maybe if they had opted for something that actually has some form of late game guarantee, they wouldn't have felt that they actually have to go for these really aggressive plays. And it may be a form of mentality that is really detrimental to a lot of players, because you feel like you have to do something. So you go and try to do that little something over and over again, and you just fail over and over again. At that point, you just cannot come back into the game, no matter how good your communications are, no matter how good your positioning is. And well, that's just something that the players will have to improve upon, hopefully going into the game too, but most likely just throughout the series in general.
Right,
also,
so
the tournament, yes.
Yeah. So, with that being said, we're going to be going into Game 2. Ares, of course, up one game here. And, really strong performance there. and just showing that they really understood what they needed to do.
Oh yeah, pretty much everything went well for them. They got the Renekton ball rolling, they got the Orianna ball rolling, even though that wasn't one of the prerequisites for them to actually achieve full-blown victory. And, well, the jungler of Ares, I have to say, had a really, really big impact on how the game went. I think a lot of props to Baby Sam, however, also to the individual laners of Ares. They just completely dismantled KMG All-Stars, and let's just hope that, we're going to see a bit more of an even game in the game 2. I think that we can go into a short little break just to refuel, so please, people, don't go anywhere, because we'll be back in a couple of minutes to bring you the game 2 between SRG Series and KMG All-Stars.
Welcome to a world, no heroes and villains. Welcome to a war we've only begun. So pick up your weapon and face it. There's blood on the ground, go and take it. You get one shot to make it out alive. So higher and higher you chase it. It's deep in your bones, go and take it. This is your moment. Now is your time, so prove yourself and rise, rise. Make them remember you. Rise, push through heaven. Rise, rise. They will remember you. Rise. Welcome to the climb up, reach for the summit. Visions brave and one false step lead the end. So higher and higher you chase it. It's deep in your blood, go and take it. This is your moment. Take to the skies, go. Prove yourself and rise, rise. Make them remember you. Push through heaven. They will remember you. It is you fight among the dead beneath the dirt. What do you know yet? What do you want it? And when the giants call to ask you what you're worth, do you know if we don't die? Prove yourself and rise, rise. Make them remember you. Push through heaven. Rise, rise. They will remember you. Prove yourself and rise, rise. Pick up your weapon and face it.
Legends never die when the world is calling you. Can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die, they become a part of you. Every time you play far reaching greatness, relentless, you survive. They never lose hope when everything's cold and the fighting's near. It's deep in their blood.
Hey, and we're back here. Both teams now kicking it off with the champion select in this second game. After game one, SRG Aries screamed out to a one-game lead. All-Stars looking to fire back, tied up 1-1. Aries, of course, looking to close it out in a clean 2-0 here in this Week 2 Division 2 match. I am Gas Pump, joined by my co-caster, Karam. Karam, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty well, except for the fact that I'm just hoping that the second game is going to be more even than the first one, because, well, stumps are never fun to witness, nor cast, so, you know, let's just hope that the second one is going to be a bit better from that perspective. Aries are actually switching up their bans a bit. They banned the Kai'Sa themselves, which they actually played last time around, which already screams at me they actually want another kind of bot lane. Maybe they are going to be opting for that Lucian now that they know that they can dismantle All-Stars in the early game.
And I think that would be a pretty solid bet. We'll see, especially since they do have the second set of picks here. I'm curious to see what All-Stars goes for first. Gonna see that Diana ban coming. Getting hovered there. Oh, it's okay. Darius.
Yeah, no surprise there. Again, just taking it away from our lovely Dank Master. Warwick being hovered. Okay, they're just running through the hovers. No, never mind. So, I think that we're going to see a relatively similar top lane around, which means basically just, you know, Bruiser against Bruiser. Hopefully, actually, the top laner of All-Stars can actually... sorry, that's a lot of actuallys. Can, you know, do something instead of just running it down, and it will be the cut for him.
Yeah, the difficult thing here is last match the Aatrox I think wasn't a bad pick, just questionable decision making from a couple of players led to some real problems for All-Stars. We'll see if they can pick it up in this match, but Aries this time going to be locking in the Aatrox as well as hovering a Lulu potentially for that support.
Okay, that is really interesting. Looks like they are trying to just switch around their style of team composition, at least in the second game. Maybe, yeah, they're pretty much just taking away everything that All-Star used in the first one. And I feel like if there is something that is defined as a power move in League of Legends, it's this. Just literally taking the champions of the other team and beating them with it.
Right, that is a power move, asserting the dominance there. Kali going to be the hover here. It's Tristana and Alistar bot lane. I'm a little lukewarm on the Tristana pick. I think Alistar is a great support, though, and I think a very smart choice from All-Stars. Akali, I think, could be a very strong lock-in, especially with the power displayed from Mazarox in the mid lane in the last match. No, it's going to be Braum as the lock-in instead.
That is interesting, because it leaves Akali open to that ban, which would have actually meant that Aatrox would be going into the mid lane and Akali into the hands of Ra. Won't likely be going to anyone unless All-Stars decide to leave it open, which would be an interesting choice, I dare say. But they're going to be banning the Pantheon away from Baby Sam, and, well, I'm not quite so sure about that one. Yes, I agree, don't you? Okay, yeah, did you just bail on me? Did you just... Come on.
Absolutely not. I'm right here right now, dude.
Hey, I'm glad to have you here.
Malphite just sitting right there.
Well, that is a lovely run.
I don't know, I'm saying stuff to agree with you, and I'm not sure if TeamSpeak is picking up my mind.
Oh yeah, it didn't. Okay. I'm glad that you are trying to say something.
Because I go, okay, yep, but maybe it's not loud enough. To
right, okay. You have to really scream the you know? Just really... Okay, maybe a bit less like you're trying to, you know, get someone in your bed.
I was going to say goose call, but I see what's on your mind there,
Okay,
pal.
yeah, goose calling, that's also something. The Ivern. Wow! That I did not expect that.
He's certainly a champion, though not one I've seen for about a year.
Exactly, especially in a competitive setting, and there are some Ivern 1-trigs out there, I believe. And I am sorry to everyone who is one, and the Lux being the last pick...
It's a shame that Ivern mains have to play about 70% of a champion.
Yes, I agree. I mean, at least it isn't banned permanently. You know, that's the silver lining. But All-Stars, that it's certainly an unorthodox composition, something that you would likely see in a solo queue, but, you know, they have kind of a front line.
Okay, let me just stake my disagreement here and say that I haven't seen an Ivern in a solo queue game since Season 7.
Okay, well, you know, what man can dream, okay? When you don't see it in competitive setting, you have to see it in solo queue, right? And many players might not even know what Ivern does. So, you know, can go over that. But I think that it's really interesting to just point out how Ares switched out their team composition. They went from a team that doesn't really need to go ahead and doesn't really have too many means to do so, to a team that really wants to get ahead. And they have a lot of ways to do so. You will have a lot of engage options on this Jarvan, who can get a lot of damage down from the side of Aatrox and Syndra, as well as this Braum and Caitlyn bot lane, which will definitely hurt, as they will be playing against Tristana, who doesn't have the best of ways to fight back in the early game.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Ivern to really match the J4 throughout the course of the early game, though as a supportive jungler, he is certainly capable of bolstering the Tristana if All-Stars is looking for a late game pushing menace.
And they certainly will be heading just into that late game, as in the early game, well, they don't have too many premises, so they have maybe Lux, who can deal some damage after having finished Haludin's Echo. Thinking about Kled, he is, again, a bruiser who spikes around those 2 to 3 items, so maybe there is some form of mid-game damage from them. However, from what we saw in the first game, I'm really scared for All-Stars, because if Ares individual laners play as well as they did in the last one, it's going to be a really, really tough time for All-Stars.
Right, and I mean, especially after that first game, I have lingering doubts about, you know, some of the stuff that they may be willing to execute, but I hope they prove me wrong.
That's all we can hope for, right? Just hoping All-Stars to prove us wrong. Well, they can definitely do so, especially after they all hit their ultimates. They have a pretty strong team fighting composition. They will have the front line in the form of Alistair, Ivern's Daisy, if you can really consider it that. They will have Kled in the front, and if they actually get enough time to put a couple of items on Tristana, she becomes a really big threat in the late game, but to do that they need to get there. And at this point, they are going to be playing Lux into Syndra, which can go really badly for Lux. They'll be playing Tristana and Alistair into Braum and Caitlyn, which I've already said that they will be most likely under their turret permanently, even though Tristana shoves. And they will have Aatrox playing against Kled, which is a skill matchup that can go both ways. But with how Dunkmaster Putin played the last one, I am actually thinking that Ram may be the one in a favorable spot going into the early game. But remember, Dunkmaster Putin had a really bad early game just because he lost the flash after the Ares' invade, so maybe if that doesn't happen this time around, he can swing it around.
Precisely, and I think that if you're looking at this 1-versus-1 matchup, the Kled versus the Aatrox, Renekton getting an advantage, super nasty. Aatrox getting an advantage against the Kled, you do have some tools to, you know, get yourself out of a hole. The fact that you can remount and get some bonus health back and, you know, maybe do a little bit more efficiently than the Aatrox in this particular, the Aatrox in the Renekton matchup.
And you do have ways to, you do have ways to jump around Aatrox, so.
Right, the thing that is worrisome, though, is Kled Ivern versus Aatrox Jarvan in the 2v2 top lane. That is not what I would call favorable for the Kled.
It definitely isn't, as Ivern is one of those guys that he's really not that useful unless you're directly buffing someone with a terrible amount of early game damage. And, well, Kled does, I'm not going to take that away from him, but if you're playing against Aatrox and Jarvan, they will just blow you up immediately. You won't actually get to, you know, do anything, especially as Ivern is really, really squishy. And Kled, before he actually builds a couple of items, he also can just go poof to pretty much anyone. So yeah, if Jarvan decides to roam around top lane, Putin is gonna have a really hard time.
You don't say.
Yes, I did say that. How dare you?
So, let's talk. So, Slikar is going to be Lux versus Syndra in the mid lane. I think Lux very wisely packing the barrier there, but it's going to be a tough matchup for Lux. Syndra's clear is much more efficient than Lux's with those lower cooldown on those orbs that get placed. So, curious to see if Lux can really stand up here. I mean, with Mazarox's play on that Orianna, if the Syndra is at a similar skill level, it's going to be tough for Slikar to get a foothold in this match.
Oh, it certainly will be, especially because it wasn't just about Mazarox outplaying both Slikar and Old School Guy in the mid lane, but also about his just complete lane control, where he actually managed to poke out Slikar really well when he was playing that Galio, and he still will have the range advantage over Lux, as, you know, Lux has to kind of walk up to her minions to actually kill them, whereas Mazarox, he can just throw up a Q, and, well, boom, there is 200 free damage on you. So, you know, it's going to be a pretty tough lane for Slikar, but, again, maybe we will see Old School Guy doing something around the mid lane, you know? Maybe he can set something up, but it's going to be really difficult to do, even against someone as immobile as Syndra, when you have just Lux in you.
Whew, alright, so we're once again seeing Caitlyn in this match, but this time going over to the side of Ares here. And I think that the Caitlyn Braum is certainly a strong lane combination, especially if you can get that passive there. And Braum is a very good support candidate for stopping the Alistar in this lane phase.
Oh yeah, just the cow runs at you and you just smack it with your door. That's how that works. But Caitlyn is also going to have a tremendously easy time with actually bullying Aikio out of the lane, because Tristana doesn't get her range until a couple of levels in. And Caitlyn has some of the best auto-attack range in the entire game, okay? So, hopefully, if Fallen Angel plays this right, he should just be able to auto-attack, headshot, and auto-attack over and over again, at which point they can actually try to go in with Parnstar, and that is just going to be a really terrible time for the bot lane of All-Stars. But, again, I feel like this Ivern pick is a wild card, okay? I honestly don't know what to expect from it if they have maybe a specific cheese strategy. So, anything can happen. Anything. We'll just have to see where he goes.
100% spectacularly almost over, getting into this champion, getting done with this champion, selecting the end of the game here. I'm excited for the second match. Really hoping for a close game here in the second one of this series. First game was a little bit one-sided.
Yeah, it really was, and the second one is kind of, from the looks of it, it may be the same. However, again, it's going to be all up to the execution of both these teams, and if the game goes on for long enough, All-Stars definitely do have a very powerful team, all about getting there. And so what Ares actually needed to do in the first one is now the job of All-Stars. They just have to survive. Both Lux just needs to farm, Tristana needs to farm, Ivern, he's just gonna be running all over the jungle and most likely helping out in the top lane, where if he actually can get a couple of kills onto this Kled, he can really do a lot of damage and put a lot of pressure all over the map with his ultimate. So that would be the ideal world that All-Stars live in, but, you know, I was going to quote All-Star, but I just cannot think of a single lyric at this point.
Hey now, you're an All-Star. Get your game on. Go. Get paid?
Yeah, go play?
Go play. And then get paid is the second part of that.
Yes, that's okay.
All that glitters is gold. Only shoot the stars. Break the mold. Hey, we're waiting for the lights to come on. Hey, there we go.
Okay, you weren't in X Factor by any chance, would you?
No.
Okay, because you really do have that opera singer voice. You know, the one that got a bit rejected. Okay!
The one that breaks the glasses. Yep,
Yes.
been there, done that.
It's like, you ever see, like, a theatrical play where you have, like, a window and it randomly shatters? Because some, some character just screams in the play. You would be the guy behind the scenes doing that voice.
Doing the screaming.
Yeah.
I'm already the guy behind the scenes doing the screaming.
Well, you're not behind the scenes. You're a lovely on-stage guy.
You can't see me right now. My time is now.
Okay. That is a very old meme, and I do not think that we should bring it up. And
oh hey,
what?
No! No! Dude, who do not learn from history and repeat it.
I am so flabbergasted at this point. Just come on.
Oh, but here's the play on the baby Sam. Jarvan gonna get found out here, taking quite a bit of hurt there, dropping solo. One more auto, not quite enough, and they find old school guy. One more would be enough. Syndra finds it. Stuntmaster Putin gonna be knocked off of his mount here. Oof, dropped down to just 200 health, and hey, it's another kill pick. This time going over to Mazarox, and hey, Aries off to a lead again.
Once again, just starting with a nice little 500 gold of advantage. And this time it's going to be sitting, yes, on Mazarox, who will likely be able to turn this into even more, but just a deja vu, you know. We have been in this place before, I have to say. And
are we higher on the street, though?
Yeah, most likely not. We're no low street plebeians.
Okay.
Okay. So, a lot of summoners down. Technically, it would be, in summoner terms, a worthy trade for KMG, just because they kept more summoners, kinda.
Except for the part where they gave up a kill.
Yeah, well, that's not a summoner, okay? You cannot put
My being
death as your
alive summoner. Revive used to be a summoner spell.
Oh,
So I would
true.
say that actually it kind of is.
Okay, well, I don't know what that voice was. So, both of the top laners will just be
Let's
sitting
get
without
the
a fight.
remount. Ooh, they're looking for the play here. Hyungra out of position here. Quite a lot of damage. It's going to be the snare coming to that red buff. So much damage. An old school guy with the Ivern going to be taking that counter kill in the top lane. Really good to see that early jungle pressure in from that unorthodox pick.
It really is an unorthodox pick, especially when you look at just the way that it hooks up, and he just sort of roots someone and kills them, which is really a badass move when you think about it. And he is starting to pull some pressure, and already it's looking for Putin actually better than it was last game, because now he has the kill, he has the potential to snowball and actually get ahead over Ra. So we can see things go drastically different this game.
Well, here's hoping, especially with the difficulties encountered by All-Stars in the first match. Jarvan coming up, gonna be looking for the play here. Let's get that knockoff, knock back, finds the Infernal Chain. Hyungra picking up that kill, and Youngmaster Putin significantly overstaying his welcome there in that 1-versus-1 top. Smart game from the Jarvan.
Yeah, I was going to say that was just a bit silly, just going under the enemy's turret without even putting a defensive ward into the river bush, but regardless, it just gives up all of the lead that you have managed to get your nice little forest friend to accumulate for you. And at this point, things are just going to be even once again, perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
I just usually refer to him as Gordon Treeman.
Gordon Treeman.
Yes.
Okay.
From my favorite game, No Life.
Okay. Would you say that he has half empty life or half full life?
That's a pessimism optimism thing. It's got to be a half full life. Like, listen to his audio clips.
Oh yeah.
He's just
sure.
happy to be there.
He's just super happy to be there. I mean, he has squirrels jumping all over his arms, so who wouldn't be happy to have that, right?
I don't know. Squirrels are actually kind of terrifying. You ever had one
Are
crawling
they?
all over you?
I mean, I never actually have had one. I have had hamsters crawling over me.
It's not the same thing, though, buddy.
They're the same kind of species, okay? Kinda.
Are we gonna have to go back? Alligator crocodile routine. Is that what it's gonna be? Is that how you want to play this, Karen?
We're not going to do a biology class, goddammit. Okay, let's just speak instead of squirrels and hamsters, and you know.
You started this.
I did, and I'm gonna end this. We're getting back into League of Legends. We're already seeing a little bit of a creep difference setting up in the mid lane between Mazarox and Slickar, where Mazarox has already finished his lost chapter, and Slickar isn't really too close to finishing it, meaning that Mazarox would just have an earlier item power spike, which again would be really terrifying for Slickar to play against.
Looking for a gank, but the counter is here from the Ivern. This 2v2 not in favor, going to be missing that snare, but Baby Sam already dropping real low. Kled has the damage, going to get pulled back. No, has the flash for the Inferno Chains, looking for the turnaround, coming for this Hyungran. Now in danger, Ivern getting those auto attacks from the brush. The target selection just wasn't there, and a double kill for Kled in the top lane.
And I just have to say, I was not expecting Old School guy to just deal so much damage with his auto attacks. Now Mazarox.
Slickar in danger. That's the ult. The ignite ticking down. Kled has the ult flashing over the wall. I'm not sure if that was strictly necessary from the Syndra, but it's still good to escape with most of that health intact.
Yeah, I do believe that it was actually necessary just because the ult would have locked in on Mazarox regardless. He didn't really have the time, so wise of him to get out of danger. But now you have 2 kills sitting on this Kled. He can actually go and afford a couple of nice items, you know, buy something nice for himself for once. And
not spend it all in one place.
Precisely. Okay, Ivern just sends
Ooh, hey,
power of God.
Getting collapsed here, no flash available. That was some questionable position. Kled is there. He's gonna pull back that Syndra, and a kill going over. We're gold in that top laner's pocket. Dunkmaster Putin in a real good spot here at the 7-minute mark of this match.
And at this point, I am not sure if it is just the pick doing all of the work for him, or if it is just that he is that good. I think it's a mixture of the two, and also the fact that Ares are just overstepping really hard. But Old School guy has actually gotten a lot of work.
Hyungran should have gone as soon as he gets his you back up. Hyungran needs to go all in on this Kled.
Luckily for Dunkmaster Putin, Ra actually doesn't have an ignite, so it's not a determined kill just yet. He will be shoving him under his turret, where 1 creep or 2 may die, and well, the wave will just freeze in an unfavorable spot. But all over the map, we're currently seeing just small little CS deficits being built up, both on bot lane and the mid lane. So not all is going too terrible for the lineup of Ares. They're just making some of the worse plays at least at this point.
Right. One of the big things to notice in that 2v2 where the Jarvan came top, poor target focus, gunning for the Kled before trying to take out the Ivern. Ivern, especially at this level with the empowered auto attacks coming out of the brush, does a lot of damage in these 2v2s and significantly less tanky of a target than the Kled is.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Yeah, and it's one of those, Lux almost goes down there, Syndra. Not quite enough juice to finish off the kill, but will be forcing Slickar out of lane once again.
And again, it just helps feed the CS deficit in the mid lane, and Syndra will soon start to just become really terrifying champion. She would be able to just delete anyone, but returning to your point about Ivern, I may just have to think about that for a bit longer as... Okay, no. Well, or maybe top lane.
Ooh, Kled looking for this, does pop the ultimate, but it's going to get cancelled. Hyungrad does have the flash up. Ooh, Jarvan's here. This is going to be rough for the Kled. Here comes the Cataclysm. Finding the damage. One more auto gets it. The shut down in for Hyungrad.
And I don't know just what the hell happened there. I hate saying that, but I just don't know. So Kled started ulting, and as soon as he did, Ra finally killed his Skarl. so he just fell down and tried to keep on fighting. Ra disengaged and waited over for Baby Sam, which was a bit of a questionable choice because Dunkmaster Putin could have had run away, but he just lingered around, and in the end he just got slain. And I'm going to say that was pretty deserved.
Yeah, a big overstay. Ooh, here's going to be the Ivern down here, finding the target. Kled does teleport in. Braum ultimate will knock up to looking for the play in there. The pullback is there. Here comes Jarvan looking for the turnaround. The turret aggro is in. No Cataclysm available to pick up onto the Caitlyn. Aatrox does teleport on down. Syndra is late to this fight. Looking for Dunkmaster Putin. Is going to find it with the Flag and Drag. Looking for the Alistair. Low on health, but one trick Parnstar going low. Looking for the turnaround here. Aatrox, the Whirlwinder, is timed out. They will get the favorable trade. No, but Aatrox is able to pick up the Alistair. It's even 2 for 2 overall. But no, Syndra in the mid lane knocks down Slikar once again. Overall, big fight in advantage of Ares. What a brawly game across the map.
And Ancient Days pretty much just made sure that that fight didn't go completely sour for KMG All-Stars, and in the end it just was even. Now Mazarox did pick up a kill in the mid lane, but that is kind of to be expected when you look at the item difference between Syndra and Lux. If Lux just dead, but really important for Parnstar to, oh sorry, for Ancient Days to do what he has done and just stunned up everyone, as Aikyo doesn't actually have any damage on Tristana, at least just yet.
Right, does have that Storm Razor, which I don't think it's a bad item at all, but it's always felt to me like kind of the opposite of what Tristana wants to do.
Yeah, the thing is, whenever... Okay, crit AD carries, at least at this point in the meta, they just have to build Storm Razor first just because there is no better alternative, and they just cannot withstand the complete and utter amount of damage of every other ADC out there. So they're kind of forced to build it. But yeah, it's not something that Tristana would optimally buy, but it gives her at least some kind of damage and survivability in the lane, but it just shows that, well, she couldn't do anything in that fight.
But does have that flash up. Gonna be looking for the play top lane. This 1 versus 1. Flashing there will get their remount onto Scar. Ultimate not available for another moment there, and here comes Baby Sam looking for the play. Is gonna get the pop up. There's the flash coming through. Dunkmaster Putin hugely overstaying, gonna be dropping, giving up another kill here.
In the meantime, yes,
Ivern comes down bottom lane.
Yeah, Ivern just did what Ivern does. He ran over to bottom lane and, well, tried to do something, but Parnstar did a nice little disengage. And as such, nothing happened. Instead, Shelly, the Rift Herald, will be taken in just a moment's notice by Ra and Baby Sam. And that is just going to speed things up quite a bit, as I really like the trade of Rift Herald for a Mountain Drake.
Right, exactly. I think that, well, Rift Herald is a good objective, and could help accelerate some of this gold lead. Oh no. Get rooted, looking for the play here, Daisy. There's the pop-up, no flash available from the Caitlyn. Will get dropped down very low. One trick Parnstar. No way to escape from this one. Will fall. They end up giving over 2 kills, and soon to be the dragon as well. They may try for a stop here, but Syndra has no ultimate. Going to be an objective given over, as well as those kills. Questionable decision making in there from the bot lane of Ares.
Once again, just one team dying for the Drake when they should not obviously engage, but alas, I think that we can commend Ancient Days for his quick reaction on that Alistair to just immediately go in.
For sure, for sure.
Yes.
And I mean, it was a very smart play there, and they got rewarded pretty well for it. On top of that, I think that, man, Kyung Ra should honestly consider just popping that Rift Herald top lane. Get the tower down, move across the map. Mid lane tower is at just a sliver. Oh, Lux gonna get caught out here. No ultimate quite yet. Consider. Oh, just in time. We Slikar going down for a 3rd time, and Mazarox on Syndra, 4-1, absolutely enormous, and looking for pressure in this mid lane.
And that's just what happens when you finish building Luden's Echo on Syndra. It's just, It's just terrifying. Now, Ivern,
Oh,
I am so sorry.
Ivern. Wow. Syndra's terrifying.
Syndra, yeah, she is the all-powerful mage, both in lore and in game right now, and there is nothing that can stop her.
They're looking for another play against the Kled. That's the Infernal Chains pulling him back. That's the dismount coming through. Cataclysm is in there, and no way for Dunkmaster Putin to get out of that one. Another kill going into the pockets of that top laner.
And
there's the flash from the Caitlyn going and looking for the aggression.
Oh no, Ivern, no!
Oh, Ivern gonna get caught out there. Syndra finds any jungler. Rochelle gonna be summoned there. Aicho is really starting to get some of that damage. There's the ult from the Caitlyn. Used for the chip damage there. Rift Herald used in the top lane. Will be another tower easily taken top. And now gold lead accelerated to 5,000 in favor of Team Ares.
And Ivern just got completely eaten by Syndra in just one bite there. There'll be a lot of map pressure being given over into the hands of Ares as they also managed to pick up the bot lane turret. And once again,
Syndra has her ult up.
Well, she did have her ult up. Luckily, Putin has Scarl. So
Dunkmaster Putin. Well, they're looking for this pressure in the top lane here, and they have the demolish. I mean, they might be able to get a second turret here. Oh yeah, they will be able to with the Kled chipped out. And it was a pretty good heads-up play there to claim their 4th tower of the game and bring that gold lead now to almost 7,000. They were only like 1,200 3 minutes ago. Just insane.
It really speaks about how Ares are just good at actually finding the objectives, even though there have been obvious, mistakes in just like choosing the right ones. But it's still impressive how much they can just dismantle KMG All-Stars at this point with just being so far ahead. And again, they are just doing what the lineup of All-Stars couldn't do last game. They're just beating them at their own fantasy game.
And it just comes down once again in my mind to individual decision making. Dunkmaster Putin was given so much in the top lane, and he's kind of squandered it. It feels bad to say, but I mean, it's all just overstays and taking poor fights. And man, I really hope that they look the way the series has gone. They can see like, all right, we really want to be. Cleaner with what fights we take. Oh, yeah.
That's that analysis.
My coaching fee is $20 an hour.
Yeah, but yeah. If nothing else, at least KMG will have a good game to showcase some of their biggest weaknesses to actually try to improve upon, because that's sometimes just the kick that you need. Just getting absolutely smashed in a competitive game on stream, and maybe without it they wouldn't be good in the further down the line in the tournament. So you also can think about it from the long-term perspective.
You're also using a sub mid laner, Slikar, not the starter for this squad.
Oh, it's actually Mazarox.
Cataclysm.
Mazarox is the starter. Isn't the starter for Ares, I'm afraid.
Really? So Slikar is the starter. I have been wrong this entire time. Mazarox flipping on numbers, then there's Cledol coming in, looking for the engage. Baby Sam gonna get that ult in, denied. They find the kill. Lux ult across the backline, gonna be finding that. But it's a 5 versus 3. That Aatrox damage is huge, though. Syndra still holding out of the ultimate, does have the balls, maybe looking for a play here. Setting that up. Oh, the ultimate. Not gonna be quite enough to secure a kill, and that's 2 pick up there. Syndra gonna be looking for the balls there. Dunkmaster Putin going down, traded over. Caitlyn still left us the support, and jungle gonna be dying for the top lane. Overall trade in favor of KMG All-Stars.
Yes,
yeah, okay. It was a really great fight to take, and they came out certainly ahead on that.
Yeah, at first it looked like they could just take it whole, but in the end it was still a good trade. And now
Aatrox gonna be looking for Slikar here. Lux is gonna get pulled back with Infernal Chains, and Hyung Rai evening things out. Half fight is already over, and the dragon taken. Still, Ares comes out on top.
And that has been just the story for these both games, really. It's like KMG All-Stars always do something, and Ares just respond with completely denying whatever they try to do, and that just is because of their positioning and just individual mistakes of KMG All-Stars. Luckily, it is something that they can work upon.
Alistair looking for this, though. Gonna get the Pulverize on 2, looking for the stun on the Caitlyn in the backline. Not gonna be finding it. That Braum slow is so clutch. Unbreakable coming through. But one trick, Parnstar dropping lower and lower. Alistair getting that pop-up. The Tristana dropping it all onto that Caitlyn, and 2 more kills picked up by the side. KMG All-Stars mid lane tower under threat, though, from the 3 remaining members of Ares.
And I feel like right now we have actually neglected to mention this, but Tristana is sitting on 6 kills. Half of the team's kills are on IKEO. This Tristana is going to be really terrifying if she manages to hit at least 1 more item.
Ooh, they're looking for Kled, but this is still a big numbers advantage. Ooh, they find the Syndra. Damage is in. Shut down for the Lux. That's going to be a huge kill going over. They want more. Snare coming through. Will land onto that top laner. Young Ra already world ending. Not going to be able to escape. Shutdown going over the Alistair. And Baron now on the table for KMG All-Stars. It's just 3 to try to ward off this Baron attempt. Jarvan is there. They do not have the vision.
Luckily for Ares, they
looking
still
for this
do have
Baron.
Jarvan.
Baron halfway down. They do the vision ward there. Going to be looking for this. J4 is going to be flagging, dragging over. Does want to get the engage. Over the wall is a second too late. Cataclysm coming through. There's the ult through. Why did he use his ult? Why would you smite Krugs there?
That's exactly what I've been thinking about. I just don't know why he used his smite on a camp when he knew that Baron was being done. Okay, let's just move on to the broader context, because right now All-Stars have actually closed some of the gold lead that they have been struggling with picking up, and they are just sitting 3,000 gold behind. And at this point, we may start seeing Tristana actually pick up some of the damage. She is going to be finishing their Infinity Edge in just a short while, so she can be a really big threat to Ares.
Right, and a lot of this is going to come down to how Ares is capable of playing the next fight. Because you have protection for this Tristana, and if you can kill her, that is where this game cracks open for you in your favor once again.
Well, certainly. However, unless they manage to find a team fight on their own, it's still going to be really difficult for them to win a team fight. They need to engage on their own terms. And this is where Ancient Days actually has been really clutch for the entire squad. Oh, sorry. I just kind of had a coughing fit. Okay. But yes, so Alistair has been really just terrifying for the Ares lineup, just because, well, he's been single-handedly ruining everything for them.
Ooh. For the 1v1 at the top, Kled doing so much damage. Dongara needs to be super duper careful as Aatrox here. Gonna get Kled on the dismount here, has the ult. Here's the play from the Jarvan, gonna find it. No Cataclysm necessary. That's a big shutdown to the top laner. Wow, that stun doing so much damage. Maybe looking for the play. Oh, that Syndra ult dropping Icho down so low. Gets the stun onto the Lux. J4 not in position to capitalize yet, but they are going to ward them off. This Baron empowered push in the mid lane. 20 seconds still till the respawn on the Kled.
And it is just so difficult to try to siege against someone like Syndra, especially if they're so ahead. That was a nice recall. That was a really nice one. But yes, it's super difficult to siege against someone like that Syndra, someone like that Caitlyn, who will just have range advantage over you at all times, and they just have to kill them.
Right, the big thing here in my mind is you really need to be careful. And if Icho is out of position on this Tristana, Icho is the team. If that Tristana dies, so do your chances of coming back and taking this game. Ooh, that's going to be the Kleddle. Caitlyn, what are you doing? Going to be caught by the Kled. The members are split, will be going down. There's a split fight looking for the Ivern. Does find the kill. Aicho going to be the recipient of that redemption. The split push coming through. Slikar in trouble. Will get knocked down by Hyunra. Syndra does not have the ultimate quite yet. Here comes the J4. The dragon is resetting. Going to be looking for this. Tristana is going to find it. That's the kill on the Tristana. Shutdown goes through. That Mountain Drake will be picked up by the Kled, though. Baby Sam does have the ability to escape, get over that wall, will be able to make his way out. Aatrox splitting in the top lane, does have the Demolish. Syndra able to get this blue buff up. The recall still a second off. Hyung Ra should be able to crack this inhibitor tower before he has to leave and is going to pop that Ghost Blade to assure his escape.
And that just has to feel so bad for All-Stars, because they managed to catch Caitlyn out so well with that Kled ultimate, but they were just unable to find anything of use out of that single fight just because Tristana, she was out of position, and she completely forgot that Mazarox was just around the corner and kind of disrespected her, and just that's what happens. That's what happens. She just unleashes her power on you, and you cannot do anything if you're as squishy as an AD carry in 2019.
If you're looking at positioning for that fight, if you're the Tristana, you actually want to be in the back of that dragon pit because it's your friendly side. And if Syndra gets too close to the dragon, she has to walk up way closer to your front line, first and foremost. And secondly, you can just rocket jump back over the wall to safety.
Precisely. So, a bad positioning by Lissandra, by Tristana. Nonetheless, I feel like that has been the name of the game for All-Stars this entire series. However, they can still pull through. We have seen good engages from them, and they still do have the damage. Lux has built a couple of items. Aikyo is actually sitting on 3 items right now, so while it isn't the peak female body performance for Tristana just yet, she's going to be achieving that in just a short amount of time. And the ticking time bomb is just starting to tick away and away for the lineup of Ares.
You just say the ideal female body for Tristana?
Yes!
So 3.5 feet tall and purple?
Precisely, and with a couple of really big guns.
Just one? Hello?
I mean, okay, she has a gun and 2 swords. Okay. You know what's fair? Just fair. Maybe she will pick up another gun. Actually,
I mean, she could.
She could technically...
Could get a gunblade, I mean, which is a gun and a sword.
Okay, I'm not quite sure if that really
they're
counts.
looking for Caitlyn out of position here. It's going to get hit with that red buff, but here's Jarvan. Look at that damage under the armor. Thing obliterated. There's a kill. Looking for Aicho. Will go down to the Syndra Ancient Days. The next target on the chopping block will be forced to flash out to safety. There it is live, and that's 2 huge kills. And perhaps a Baron going over to Ares.
And this is precisely what shouldn't have happened for the squad of KMG All-Star. They just gave up any sort of pressure at this Baron pit because Old School Guy is down. They cannot even contest it as they do not have the smite. And now Mazarox is forcing a flash out of even Slikar just with his own presence. And it's just terrifying to play against Ares right now, because they will just destroy your towers just because of the superior siege team comp that they have.
Well, not only that, you've got a Syndra who completely denies any attempt to get close, and I mean, who's going to be able to? You've got 3 people on the side of KMG All-Stars who are prime targets for a Syndra-flavored obliteration. And what is Ivern going to do about it? Well, can Lux do anything? I mean, she has a Banshee's Veil. And of course, you have Tristana, who is public enemy number 1 if you are on Ares.
Oh yeah, just the thing is, in both of these fights, Aikyo just got deleted immediately. And the thing is, he cannot approach Mazarox. Even if he gets close to attack range, he just gets ulted immediately and dies because there is not enough shields on the team of All-Stars. And I think that maybe if Alistar had decided to pick up something like the Locket of the Solari, it could have been possible for the Tristana to actually do something in these team fights, but right now she's just too damn squishy.
I mean, you do have the redemption and all that, but oh, that damage is enormous. Wow. I think it drops super duper low.
Yeah, that's how Aatrox works. Couple of kills. What the hell happened?
Whoa, Dunk Master Putin. All right, they're looking for the play here. That's the fear coming through. They want the damage in. Old school guy in trouble is going to flash out. That's the Stair Axe procking. It's also the passive pop from Hyung-ra. Mid lane inhibitor going down at the same time. They're forcing the play, but he did manage to send 2 of them packing. The second inhibitor now under threat as that tower was cracked so much earlier by Hyung-ra. And with 2 inhibs down, things are looking more than a little dicey for this KMG All-Star squad. Ooh, they've caught out the Braum, though. They may want this fight. Flash forced. Aatrox working on a bot lane tower. Infernal Drake is up, and that's going to be the call. Kled going to be ulting towards the bottom lane, looking for the catch. Not able to find it. Wow, that speed up from the Alistar, almost enough to catch up to Hyung-ra's Aatrox, but just barely.
Yeah, it just barely does not work, but I feel like it's important to showcase the importance of Kled, because right now, he is one of the 2 only tanks, I'm gonna call it in quotation marks, one of the only 2 tanks on the side of All-Stars, and if he isn't in a team fight, All-Stars cannot do anything, just because Syndra deletes everyone single-handedly. So if you see him split pushing or fighting against Hyung-ra in a solo lane, well, it's going to be a really terrifying team fight if it is engaged from the side of Ares.
Syndra also just completed the Void Staff there, all at M-Pen in the universe. Just an absolutely horrifying amount of damage on that Syndra. Currently sitting at a crispy 793 ability power at 31 minutes.
It reminds me of Veigar a bit, honestly, this amount of damage, because you literally just walk up to the enemy that you wish to murder, not even them, but just their whole family with one click of a button, and they're just dead. However, the same thing goes for the other. If you manage to blow Syndra up quickly enough, there is a really solid chance for you to actually be able to win that fight, because Caitlyn will not blow Tristana up nearly as quickly as Syndra would. So if you manage to kill Mazarox early enough in the fight, you can actually continue and maybe look to win it.
That's a big if. Daisy going to get captured and sent straight back into her own team there. It's going to be the snare from the Ivern. Nothing really doing there. It's a wasted ult. Looking for the engage there. Slikar gonna get Goomba Stomp coming through here. Darius Dunkmaster, Dunkmaster Putin, no chance. It's gonna be the Tristana falling in the back line. Ancient Days next up as the target. The only member of his team left. That's a final inhib. Not even going to need to be taken here as Ares runs a riot through the base and ends this series in a clean 2-0 for their team.
And this might have been one of the most convincing victories that we have seen in the entire second half so far, because Ares just played so well around their composition. They knew what they had to do, and they just performed those tags phenomenally, and All-Stars just couldn't do anything, both because they just kept on overstepping, and also because their team composition was playing against themselves, and also against the meta that we currently found ourselves in.
The big thing that I noticed today was that it just seemed like KMG All-Stars felt a little lost in their matchup today, and I was really hoping that they would be able to, come in after Game 1 and reevaluate what was going on there and say, okay, what can we do different coming into this next game that really gives us an opportunity to take this, and it feels like they just did not have an answer.
They really didn't, and I think that is also caused because of the many problems that we are seeing. Not something that you can really focus on instantly. It isn't like you just picked something bad, so you just go and pick something else, and it's going to work perfectly the second game. It's going to be an underlying problem, I think, for KMG All-Stars, because they actually have to improve individually enough to be able to compete with these, I'm going to say, individually better teams. Because if you don't actually have the foundation for the players, which means that, they are able to be just left alone in their own lane to just not die and not give away advantages. You cannot build upon it with something like complex strategies. You cannot really try to achieve some really good macro understanding, and that just handicaps you so much. So I think that we know what All-Stars are going to focus on going further into the split, and maybe they are going to be able to surprise us one day, which, you know, I think that under a coach like Vand is a really big possibility.
For sure, and I mean, man, just Aries seemed to have all of the answers here today, and just a great job overall from the side of that team. And All-Stars, then, you know, even with that coach, I think that it can take some time to really come in and make changes to a squad, especially if you've been doing things a certain way for quite some time. Really hope to see better and better results from those guys as this split progresses.
Most certainly, and it's also the same story for many other teams, because in every single stream, I love to say this, so I'll, you know, say it again. In every single stream, you can learn. You can learn about a lot of your weaknesses because you're actually playing against players who sort of know what they're doing. It's still a competitive setting, so you're going to find really strong adversaries, and this can just outline strengths and weaknesses. And if nothing else, these matches are a learning experience for these teams, but not to just focus on the bad things that happened today. Aries, I have to commend them. They played phenomenally. Their individual skill decided on how the games looked rather than some really insane macro plays, which, you know, is technically a step below that point, but they still completely stomped KMG All-Stars, and well, it isn't without a reason, let's just put it that way.
For certain, Karam.
Yes.
All right, talk about those MVP votes. We think we have them in here. We have a dead heat tie for the MVP from Aries, which is Mazarox and Youngra. I think both of those players really put in great results today and definitely deserve those votes. Votes.
It's okay. We both stutter, kind of. I just brain fart, mostly.
I just added like 3 extra letters to the word vote.
I mean, maybe you're just a linguist. Maybe you're just creating new words, you know?
I don't think that's how it works at all.
Does it not?
I appreciate the out, but
you know, I just tried. I tried to be nice, but you won't accept the compliment. Okay. Well, that has been the game between All-Stars and Aries. Remember, we have other matches lined up. We will be back tomorrow with a game between SRG Hydra and Helsingør Esport, which will be, again, one of the most interesting games that we're going to be seeing in this Wintersplit. Make sure to tune in. Also, make sure to follow us everywhere in real life on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, here on Twitch, and make sure to join our lovely Discord channel, because we're kind of active there, yeah? Yeah, we kind of talk around a bit. We always say GG after the games, so if nothing else, we do that there, so make sure to come around and hang out. It's gonna be a good time. My name has been Karim. My lovely play-by-play has been today the American Yank, Gas Bump, and I think that I can say, have a good night, everyone.
Mm-hmm.